The energy just speaks to your body when you stand there. I can't help but feel like there's got to be some intentional, dedicated ceremonial space on that land. I don't have it all figured out because I don't think I'm supposed to figure it out on my own. That's just intuitively what I'm feeling. That in time with the folks there that I'm working with, the answer will evolve. But that's what it's feeling like. Something sacred, something ceremonial needs to be grounded on this space.
What does it mean to come home to land you've never owned, yet that never stopped claiming you? What happens when grief, joy, and purpose all converge on a mountaintop in Boriké? This is not a pitch, it's a remembering. This is the story of My Reflection Matters village, of a sacred house at the tippity top of a mountain, and of a woman whose body remembered home before her mind could catch up.
Listen, I didn't pick Añasco. I really did not pick Añasco. In fact, I was not even familiar with that town. I spent my summers hanging out on the East Coast in Carolina, San Juan, Rio Grande, Luquillo. And I always envisioned that coming back, I would be on that side, the metropolitan side, not on the mountainous, more rural side of the island where my father is actually from. So when we happened to have this opportunity to purchase a family member's casita in Aguadilla, I love the mountains have been calling me. People who know me know I've been dreaming of mountains since I was really young. And I have always felt this connection to the mountains. So when I went to Aguadilla, it was like, oh, the best of both worlds because I'm really close to the mountains, but it's not like so secluded from the beach. I get to have both. So that opportunity to like make a home there in Aguadilla and then be connected with the space when I was looking for spaces, because I was looking on the east side, but then having a home made it convenient. Like, well, maybe I should consider this side because then I don't need to stay on the location, which frees up space. We try to make accommodations free for people who are on a budget and it frees up space. I don't have to stay. So it just worked out perfectly. And magically, I mean, that's where my ancestors are from, like regionally. My dad was born in the mountains of Moca, which is neighboring Añasco. You know, I was sharing with you the story of the Taino resistance in Añasco. Like they're known for the place of like Taino resistance. I didn't know that story before. I didn't think all these things like, oh, yes, there's this story of the Taino resistance. We should go to the mountains where, like, no, listen, Añasco called me in and I just listened. I followed the thread.
Clearly.
Listen, the 6-year-old Chimay is going to come out because I'm going to make it plain and simple. We looking to purchase specific land, a specific place that actually has been built and has been loved and has been nurtured. I'm looking for folks who are feeling called in this vision that we're talking about, how this land is going to be used, to jump on in. What can you share? What can you give to make this land a reality for our community? And when I say our community, it's both like folks on the island and outside of that. The community is expansive because we started virtually. And so now we have physical soil, or what I'm asking for is support to purchase this physical space so that we can physically come in together and we can continue to evolve the work that we've already been doing, the healing and liberation work virtually on the soil, and do it in community with my people on the land that has been calling me for so many years. And I'm listening now.
Yes.
Without shame, because I felt like I'm not supposed to because I wasn't born there. I'm not Boricua enough. Like all those stories that we listen to around us that now I know better to quiet that. This is truth, not all that chatter. I was having this conversation with my cousin about how we both weren't born on the island, but feel so connected to the soil. And I remember her saying, like, I need my kids to be born. Like, she's just thinking about the future. And I'm like, girl, slow down. You don't worry about that. And I told her, I said, I understand from your heart where that comes from, but don't let anyone fool you that we are not from here. This is a body and it's temporary. Our spirit has been around for a long time and will continue to be around and continue to evolve. If you feel in your heart this land, you are from this land, from this soil, then you are from this land and you are from this soil. Ain't nobody going to tell you something different. You are part of that soil. My kids are part of that soil. They didn't have to be birthed there. I feel it. I see it in them. My husband, our neighbors always laugh because they know as soon as we get there, oh, Shane's going to the beach. They know Shane's going to La Playa and
This
he's getting
is,
coconut water
oh
on the,
my gosh.
like
Listen,
it's in our blood. I go back to Connecticut and I get a call from him and he says, are you like still interested in wanting to buy? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm really going to need some time to like figure this out, the money thing. And he says, look, I really would like to sell to you. I just had a conversation with this investor. He's an investor. I don't have a relation. He's not from here. He's not connected with the people in the land. I know your family's from here. I know what you want to do here. I know what he's going to do with this property. Like, I'm not interested in that. And so at that moment, I was like, take a deep breath. Okay. Yeah, let's make this happen.
yeah. And here we are.
And here we are. And Akila, so then when we started talking logistics, like, I need some time. Like, yeah, you can have some time. Cool. And then I said, well, would you be willing to, like, instead of me going to like a bank, can I just pay you directly? Can we work out a thing? He goes, yeah, we can work out. You can give me 25% down and then you can pay me for X amount of years. I think initially he said 10, then I asked 12. He says we could, or he extended to 12 years at 4% interest. We could do that. Cool. Like, okay. So I'm taking more deep breaths because I'm like, okay, I got to figure out the money part now. That's the only thing I got to
I'm
figure out.
committing to this. I'm
I'm
committing to
committing to
this.
this.
Yes.
I thought of the community of Añasco. I thought about people that also live on top of the mountain, but I was envisioning the farm or the large garden and that being a space where, like, I envision talking to people in the community about that and asking, like, what would you want to see grown here? Because this is to share. Like, I can't imagine everything we grow there, we're going to use all of it. So I want that to be a place that people can, whether it's a CSA or whatever, I would want the community to decide, like, what can we create for you all to have access to the plant medicine and the food. I definitely don't feel like I have to or should be making the decisions around how the local community gets together on the space, uses and benefits from the land. I know I want people to benefit from it, but how they access it or what they want specifically, because maybe there's something specifically people want grown because they can't get access to it for whatever reason, or there's not enough, or it's super expensive. That'll be informed by conversations with the community. I can't tell you what that is right now. I envision us growing with the local farmers, cultivating the land and learning. Listen, Akila, I know this is the next chapter of my life. And this next chapter of my life, like right now, I'm touching the tip of the iceberg through my healing journey. My healing journey has led me here and it's opening this door and these opportunities for me to further deschool, unlearn, continue. This ain't like I reached some mountaintop. I mean, I literally am going to the mountaintop, but I can feel just like I felt with the virtual village that this is just as much for me and my family as it is for everyone else that's coming along. So I know there's a lot of learning. There's a lot of learning about the plants, the land, what it's like to be in deep relationship and community with land and nature. I feel that call. And for me, this is like an answering to that deep relationship with the curanderas on this land. I'm hungry to learn and to be in community with them. And I even see with my own family, like, look, my house, we got at this point, maybe 100 plants because a long time ago, we were at 60 something. Shane has such a green thumb. And when we are together in Borinquen, I kid you not, when I'm in Borinquen, it's like the plants are talking to me. And I love putting my hands in the soil. I love learning about their powers. And I love sharing that I love when people share it with me. And then I love that I get to share it with someone else. Look what I learned about La Brujita today. Did you know you could do these things with her? Like, she's amazing. Everyone should have a pot of her at home. So I see my family getting really deep into that. My kids love being in the soil, right? Like since they were young. So I love that I get to gift this for myself and my family, that it's, oh my God, it's so much of coming home.
Something came to me when you were talking about the grief that I didn't even realize. I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't grieved that. My family hasn't grieved it. My grandmother on my mom's side, when she left Puerto Rico, now my mom's side is from the mountains, but on the opposite side, they're more like down
Mm,
southeast in a town called Villalba.
mm.
Both my mom and dad are from the Montes. They're Campo people,
Oh my
country mountain people, right?
gosh.
Which is where the Taínos fled, right?
Yes, absolutely. Everywhere they were, that's where
With
they went.
the
Mm.
Africanos who fled
Yep.
with them.
Hmm.
Exactly. So in Villalba, my grandmother, when she went to New York, she left because of life shit. My grandfather was an alcoholic and she had enough of it. So she was trying to leave with her family. So now my grandmother was doing really well. She, at her time, was an entrepreneur. And I come from a family of seamstresses. So she had this like factory of where they made the church gloves and all of that.
Oh,
Yes, my grandmother did. So she left that. She left her house with 3 acres, which is given to her because they gave parcelas, right? They would give, I'm sure they did this in Jamaica
yep, the
too,
little
parcels of
plots.
land.
Hmm.
If you didn't have a lot of money, the government gave you this plot. At that time, 3 acres. They gave you 3 acres of
Wow.
free land. I know. And they had their little casita built there. She left that. Now she left it not like permanently, but was like, I'm going to come back, but I need to like temporarily leave right now because this shit is crazy. And so her neighbor came to her and said, hey, since you're not here for a while you're in New York, can my like sister stay here or whatever? I know the neighbor wanted access to this property for them or their relatives to use. So they worked out an agreement because now poor people ain't supposed to rent property and make money. So legally, she could not rent this property. So behind the scenes, they worked out an agreement where they would rent the property. They would send her money, and they did. Every month, they sent her a check to New York. Well, months go by, and she ain't getting a check. Another month goes by, she don't get a check. Another month goes by. So she calls up her cousin or her uncle and says, hey, can you go by the house? Check. I want to see something strange is happening. Are they okay? Well, come to find out, they went to the town, ratted my grandmother out on what they were doing, and under squatting laws, were able to take the land and the house.
Oh my
So my
God.
family lost this mountain house, the 3 acres of land. And to this day, my mom was she's the youngest of four. So she was really little when this happened. So she doesn't really have a memory attached to this. But my aunt, who's still alive, who's much older than her, remembers this vividly. And she's the one who could tell me the story because my mom didn't know all the details. She's like, I remember the lady, I remember the family. And She even told me how the family died. They fell off a cliff. Like these same people still, like, I can't make this up, fell off a cliff in the mountains in PR. That's how she's like, well, karma ain't something real. My aunt, when she tells that story, you can still feel the anger and the pain and the grief that she has. She's like, that was our family's land. It was the only land that we had. And we lost it. We lost that land. So when you were talking about grief, that came to me. And I said, oh my God, my aunt, like, it may not be that mountain, but it's a mountain.
Yes, and of course it's you. Of course he would move directly to where you are because the energy wants to heal and your
The
family
energy wants
hasn't
to
grieved. Of
heal.
course it does. Of
The
course it
energy
does.
wants to
It
heal.
wants to heal just like the body wants to heal.
I feel like it's just like all like vomiting out of me. I didn't even make these connections.
That is a part of what rest and space and trusting towards does. It allows this channel for the things that can be healed because not everything can. The
Yeah.
cracks are relevant. The cracks, the chasms, they are part of the terrain. But there's so much that can be. And when we signal, it rushes because it wants to be tended to, just like the plants and the land and us. And grief and joy are like that as well, because the joy of this process, this practice of accepting this property, knowing what this is for, is also going to allow for the grief to have the space to be tended to.
That's the ceremony. You know, when I told you there was this acre that I feel like a ceremony needs to happen, that I know now the ceremony on that space, that initial ceremony needs to be the tending to all of that grief, the grief of all of what I just poured, but even the grief of I wasn't born there. My parents raised us outside of that, even though I was also raised there because there was intention in always bringing the kids back. But there is grief around that too of, you
Yes.
know, I can't say I was born and raised in Mocha or wherever.
Yeah. This is it. And we are talking about $600,000 as our initial
Yeah.
urgent, immediate ask so that we can secure the property in terms of a down payment. We know the majority of that is just the deposit.
The majority of that is a deposit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have some extra to be able to prepare the land so that we can receive folks and we can support folks in doing the healing work that they're being called to do on this land. Fortunately, the land itself is in really good shape. I do know in terms of farming because I see it. I've eaten bana, breadfruit from the trees there, which are amazing and delicious. Really, the big thing that I want to focus on is the land and cultivating it and begin working with some of the local farmers on figuring out what parts of that space. It's 5.2 acres. Most of it is slope that we can utilize and maximize the slopes to grow fruit, to grow herbs. So yeah, a large part of it will go towards the down payment of that. And then the other part of it would be to do some of the work on the land because that'll take some time. Ideally, it would be great to have the whole thing paid off because then, there's the pressure of like, I know what we have to make each month so that we are
Yeah.
paying the bills.
Yeah. And what's the
Right?
total ask, Chame? What's the full amount?
It's 1.4 million.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that's going to give you the 5.2 acres.
Yes, so it's about 5.2 acres.
Mhm.
You get the main house, which is a round octagon structure. It's got 4 bedrooms, large open kitchen, living, dining space. There is an in-ground pool adjacent to the main home. And then there's a casita in the back, which fits about 4 to 6. And there's an outside bathroom and shower for that casita that folks can use, also like an outdoor kitchen area. And then we have a large structure that the current owners built. It's got 2 floors. So the main floor is a huge carport, but that's used for, as you know, in the Caribbean, people don't really use their carports for cars. That's for events and
Literally
parties.
never, right?
Never. Like, ooh, that's la sala. Like, hello,
Exactly.
that's the room. So that is our communal space. That's a space where we've done yoga. We've had workshops in that lower level space. And then upstairs, there's another covered space, that communal space that can also be used for workshops. And there's an outdoor kitchen that's also part of that space as well. And then there's an extra bedroom also in the carport area and bathroom. So yeah, that's the space. There's an additional about an acre of land when you're coming up to the property just before you get to Hacienda Casa Campo. On the left, you'll see this kind of like little dirt road, and there's this beautiful open land. I mean, when you stand there, even I'm closing my eyes and I could feel the energy in my heart, because it is so profound when you stand in the center of this vacant lot, but it looks vacant, but you're not alone. You see 360 degrees of mountains, of clouds, of the ocean. And I'm struggling with words because there are no words. There's that and other green land that I imagine, there's glamping opportunities because there's not as much like bedroom accommodations. And I know that's something that our members have asked for. Oh, I wish there's more space that I could stay, because other folks then have to find local like Airbnbs to stay in. So I imagine maybe some tiny cabins that we can add in the future, having available tents for folks who prefer to camp it out. So a mixture of that. And it doesn't have to happen immediately because a place physically doesn't need all that.
This is where we are now, where we're saying, look, this initial ask is 600K just to start movement on the ground, for the land to be cultivated, for there to be a contractual consent and now affirming of the space moving to you. That's what the deposit is for. And then for the logistics, the financials connected to the logistics of traveling back and forth and who needs to be paid to do what. And then moving into the rest of it, someone might hear this vision and say, oh, are y'all ready for the 1.4 million?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes.
Absolutely. You can give 1.4 or you could up it up to 1.5, which then allows the monetary space for us to then start working on the land. We could actually work with the curanderas and the farmers to start cultivating the land, and for me and my family to start working on there, not just physically on the land, but also continuing to build the relationships that we've been building already. Something that was coming up for me and that I was really leaning into is this idea of stewardship. Oftentimes when people hear that word, people associate it with taking care of something physical, like the land, which I've certainly have expressed what I see my role is in terms of physically caring for land and nurturing that space for others to experience healing and remembering. And stewardship is also caring for wisdom and knowledge and creating space for that ancestral knowledge to come through. And even as I say that, I could feel that energy so strongly in my heart. That is what our physical space represents for me. That is our mission. That's what we do. This is where we come back home to ourselves. I think about that beautiful space and how it's such a facilitator, tapping into that deep knowing that lives in all of us and that can be accessed. And for me, Hacienda Casa Campo, if we keep that name, that's what we do.
So when you talk about grounding the village from the sky to the soil, that is for so many people.
Yeah, it is, Akila. And the village always has existed in that way. We have people literally from all over the world. And why not, if we're going to come in physical community, be back on the land that has been calling me since I was a little girl? Why not? I can't help where spirit is calling me. That's where it's calling me to do the work. I'm going to listen.
It's the next natural step.
I'm going to listen.
This is a yes for someone who already knows. If you are that person or you know them, let's talk. Let's walk the land. Let's listen to what she's saying. Let's fund this future together. Visit myreflectionmatters.org/TIERRA to contribute or connect. Thank you.